Before this video starts, I want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. The Battle Cats is a game that doesn't really see a ton of changes made to units directly. Generally, when a unit receives changes, it's through things such as acquiring a new form or things like talents. However, there have been some cases in which units were changed directly to either be stronger or to be weaker, and in this video, I want to go over every change units have directly received. Changes to units like receiving a new immunity or ability like Can Warp immunity in version 6.5 will be mentioned, but things like all target units gaining relic or Aku targeting because a new trait gets added will not be mentioned. If this video seems interesting, then be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you enjoy Battle Cats content, and comment down below what unit change was the most surprising to you after you're done watching this video. With that out of the way, let's dive into our first unit change. Our first change was a nerf to Mr. In version 1.0, Mr. had a cooldown of exactly 2 seconds. However, in the very next update, version 1.0.2, this was nerfed from 2 seconds to 7.2 seconds. The fact that this was the only change made in 1.0.2 is interesting, as Mr. was just a better version of Giraffe thanks to having an area attack. However, this change was most likely made to make the faster recharging Giraffe have a use case over Mr. because otherwise, Mr. was just better in every single way. Our next unit change wouldn't come until version 2.2.9, in which both War God Keiji and War God Nobunaga would receive buffs to various stats. In the case of Keiji, he had received a 26% boost to his health. With max treasures at level 20, this translated going from 36,000 health to 45,600 health. Against dark enemies, this would have been a jump from 144,000 health to 182,400 health. In the case of Oda, both in his base and War God forms would go from 390 range to 410 range. If this had remained unchanged to the present day, it would make some of his matchups a bit riskier, but being an increase of only 20 range meant that it was just a bit safer to use him. Then in version 2.3, Mineko had received her first changes, going from a cooldown of 9,999 frames, or 5 minutes and 33 seconds, down to 1,734 frames, or 57.8 seconds. She had also received a 10% chance to land critical hits. 2 updates later in version 2.4, she had her crit chance increase from 10% to 15%. Then in version 2.9.1, one unit had received a pretty substantial nerf, this being the Peach Angels. For a period of 24 days, this unit had 0 TBA. This meant that they were able to deal a pretty solid amount of damage over time with 3.2k DPS, which was decently high at the time. Paired with the solid 30% freeze chance, they had an opportunity to constantly freeze a ton of red and angel threats. In version 2.9.1, opponents decided to give them a huge nerf, now giving them a TBA that lasted for 3.3 seconds, severely cutting down their damage output and CC potential. Their DPS was reduced by a massive 37%, dropping from 3.2k DPS to only 2k DPS flat. Now, for whatever reason, Ponos decided one day to reverse this change for the true form. This would bump their talented DPS at level 60 with their Miniwave Ultra Talent to a solid 18,952 DPS compared to the 11,000 that it is right now. Then in version 3.6, we see yet another nerf, this being for Dark Laser. From versions 3.3 to version 3.6, she sported area attack. This change made it so that Dark Laser couldn't shred groups of red and dark enemies nearly as fast. Though it is interesting that in version 10.0, they had given her some form of area attack with their wave talents. This talent is perhaps being a callback to the fact that she used to have a full-blown area attack. In version 4.0, we see a bunch of units gaining new abilities. With the addition of Weaken, Strengthen, and Survive, a few units were given these abilities in order to give older units new tools to work with. Pogo Cat, Mercat, and Kai were all given Survive in this update. The Flying Cat was given the ability to weaken angels, as well as Kotatsu and Sushi being able to weaken Floating and Red respectively, allowing them to be even better tankers against these traits. Then Cat Machine, Baby Cat, and Takeda Shingen were all given alien targeting, as they have a few more anti-alien specialists outside of the initial Dark Hero Ubers that were added. Maeda Kaiji is now given his iconic Strengthen in this update. Wheelcat also gains massive damage to aliens, and Macho Legs is now strong against them. Then in version 4.3, Mint had received a targeting change. Before, they used to target red enemies, but in this update, this was changed to alien targeting to make her more accurate to what she does in Mr. Ninja. Nerd Cat as well as Hacker Cat were changed in version 4.7, going from units who simply had extremely high range to LD units. Before this update, both Nerd and Hacker would only attack one or multiple enemies with their massive 1200 range, but their damage was very low, only dealing 2550 damage at level 30. They also attacked every 16 seconds. However, both of their animations showed them only attacking a specific area, so it would make sense to turn them into LD units. Though considering that Nerd only attacks between 1100 to 1500 range and Hacker attacks between 800 to 1200 range, they needed to be buffed in some way as their overall attacking area was reduced. As such, both Nerd and Hacker's damage was doubled, now dealing 5100 damage per hit and cutting their backswing in half, so now they attacked twice as fast. Then, in version 5.5, both Hallowindy and Spooky Thundia had received buffs to their health, damage, ranges, and speed stats. Both Hallowindy and Spooky Thundia sported the same damage and health, so these will be covered together. Before, their first form sported 13,600 health, while now they sport 19,500 health in their first form at level 30. Their first form damage was buffed from 21,335 to 31,535. More relevantly, their second form health was bumped from 25,500 health to 38,250 health. Their second form damage was buffed from 43,840, or an effect of 131,000 damage in Hallowindy's case, or 175,000 damage in Thundia's case, to 55,355 damage, which is an effect of 166,000 damage for Windy, or 221,000 damage for Thundia. Both Hallowindy and Spooky Thundia also got 3 speed each, boosting Hallowindy from 6 to 9 speed and Spooky Thundia from 5 to 8 speed. They both also got 15 more range, with Hallowindy going from 420 range to 435 range, and Spooky Thundia going from 410 range to 425 range. In the next update, we see 2 more seasonal Ubers being buffed, these being Santa Coup and Holy Coppermine. Coup had received buffs to her damage, health, range, and TBA. Just like before, both forms were buffed. Santa Coup's damage went from 39,780 to 51,000 in base form, and from 62,900 damage to 71,400 damage in second form. This boosted her effective evolve damage into angels from 113,000 to 128,000, and into aliens, this bumped the damage from 94,350 damage to 107,000 damage. Her health in base form went from 23,800 to 30,600 health. In her evolved form, this was boosted from 39,100 health to 56,100 health. This means that against angels, her health went from 97,000 to 140,000. Into aliens, this health boost went from 78,200 health to 112,000 health. Santa Coup also went from 380 range to 400 range, and her TBA was reduced from 480 frames or 12.67 seconds to 440 frames or 11.3 seconds. For Holy Coppermine, she was buffed in damage, health, and range. She used to have 18,190 health in base form, being buffed to 27,540 health. In her evolved form, she used to have 28,220 health, but was buffed to 39,100 health. Her base form damage used to be 18,020 damage, but was buffed to 21,930. In her evolved form, her old damage was 25,840 and was buffed to 29,750 damage. She also used to sport 355 range, but this was buffed to 375 range. Then in version 5.8, several units had received the Zombie Killer ability. The units that got Zombie Killer were Hyper Mister, Vengeful Cat, Yoji Cat, and Skelecat, who also received the zombie targeting. Some units also gained immunities. Delinquent Cat had received freeze immunity, Rice Ball became knockback immune, and Dancer became weaken immune. Several units in version 6.0 became multi-hit units, with Drunken Master Cat, Ninja, Rice Ball, Awakened Bahamut, and Sanada Yukimura being the most notable. The other units that became multi-hit units include Dom Cat, Delinquent Cat, Blue Shinobi, Madam Bride, Office Lady Cat, Drunken Master Cat X, Rich Cat III, Kuromi, and Welterweight. This change only applied to specific forms of Drunken Master Cat, Dom Cat, and Office Lady Cat, as their true forms would go back to having one whole attack instead of multi-hit. Then in version 6.5, with the introduction of starred aliens, several units became warp immune and or gained the barrier breaker to have more options against them. The units that became warp immune include Ultimate Bondage Cat, Can Cat, Rampage Cats, Madame the Savannah, Ironclaw X, and Curling Cat. The units that became barrier breakers include Loincloth Cat, Space Cat, Gentleman Bros, Cataphone, and God Emperor Dioramos. 2 updates later, in version 6.7, one unit was buffed, this being Crimson Mina, whose standing range went from 400 to 435. This change allowed her to be a more effective LD sniper, as now she could stand outside the standing ranges of several key enemies, such as Laboyne variants and Wolf. It also allowed her to be a much safer unit to use against Eraser variants, Sleipnirs, and other enemies between 350 to 400 range. Then in version 7.2, Major Leaguer was given a 35% chance to break barriers to make enemies like the Solar and the newly introduced Ribbo easier to handle. In the next update, Low Macho Legs was given a 30% chance to break barriers to expand their alien matchups and more likely to make Aguim Chapter 2 a bit more possible. Before this update, if you didn't have Loincloth unlocked, then this stage was straight up impossible as there was no other special barrier breakers at the time, and keep in mind, the Breaker Blast wouldn't be added for another 3 updates. After this change, no direct unit changes would be made for 692 days, nearly 2 years of nothing. But then in version 9.7, with the introduction of the Wave Buster set, Ponos had gone back to some previous Ubers and gave them wave immunity to help expand the pool of Ubers. These Ubers who gained wave immunity include Cat Machine Mark II, Togeland Passalan, War God Keiji, and Shadow Akira. All of these Ubers in true form have wave immunity, and in Cat Machine's case, Wave Blocker, so it would make sense that these were the Ubers to be updated to gain wave immunity. The next unit changes would come in version 10.9, and this time was given to a group of collab units. 3 of the Madoka Magica Ubers were given an immunity, Homura Akemi was given slow immunity, Sayaka Miki was given knockback immunity, and Kyoko Sakura was given weaken immunity. They were each given these immunities to counter specific witch enemies. Amura's slow immunity was for Walpurgis Knock, and both Sayaka and Kyoko's immunities were to help them fight the Nutcracker Witch, who could both knock back and weaken units. Then in version 11.5, Adventurer Kana had their attack style changed. While she did get a true form this update, this change also affected her previous forms. Before, she simply had an LD of 300 to 700 on all 3 hits, but with the new multi-LD system added, she was changed to be one of these types of units. Her first hit now was between 300 to 800 range, her second hit was between 250 to 750 range, and her third range was between 500 to 1000 range. 5 updates later in version 11.10, every single ancient egg was changed to be more like weak meat shields. Before, all the eggs only had 374 health and dealt 17 damage. They also had a cooldown of 2222 frames or 74 seconds and moved at 1 speed instead of 5. They also costed 750 to send out instead of the 180 they do now. This change was most likely made for the upcoming Labyrinth mode that will release an update after, to give players more meat shielding options, as some players may have not had a use for the egg units after they were hatched. Then in version 12.7, we see 2 Ultra Talents get nerfed slightly, these being for Divine Coppermine and Almighty Anubis and their attack frequency up Ultra Talents. Before, this Ultra Talent on these 2 units didn't need to be fully upgraded to get max value out of it, as past level 6 on Coppermine and level 8 on Anubis, the upgrade effectively did nothing outside of rare situations. Before, Coppermine's TBA would be reduced up to 40 frames, but now how much the TBA is reduced was tweaked to initially decrease it by 7 frames, then 2 frames for every level besides levels 3 to 8, which would reduce it by 1 frame. This would reduce it by 23 frames in total. For Anubis, their TBA was reduced by 152 frames, but after this update, it would be tweaked like Coppermine's. It now initially reduces it by 18 frames, then between levels 2 to 3, 5 to 6, and 8 to 9 reduced the TBA by 10 frames. It would then be reduced by 12 frames at level 4 and 7, then finally reduced it by 8 frames at level 10 for a total of 110 frames. Now for our most recent unit changes, which all involve Uber Rares, specifically Uber Rares who have Ultra Talents. Before version 14.3, some Ubers with Ultra Talents still only had 1 talent orb slot, but in this version, these Ubers were given a second slot for more consistency among Ubers with Ultra Talents. The Ubers to receive the second orb slot include Ice Crystal Cat, Immortal Shingen, God Emperor Megidora, God Emperor Raiden, Mission Control Mikako, Mad Dr. Clay, Almighty Zeus, and Mer Queen Ruri. And that was every single direct unit change in the Battle Cats. I want to know which of these changes you thought was the most interesting, so let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy Battle Cats content, as this lets me know I should continue this sort of content in the future. Also, shout out to the following channel members: Dr. Deadly, Gummet, Virus Aparo, Just a Shark, Gross Cat the Ultra, Potato King, King Wolf, Glamorous, Barely Grover, Jade Rabbit, Jenna Kulterberg, Tentacle Gaming, I May Be Dumb, I'm Too Few, Alex Dudurex, Carlos Fabian, Pugberto, and Lasvos Slime Cat for being silver members or higher. If you want to receive a shout out like these channel members here, then become a silver member or higher today. Becoming a channel member supports what I do in a way that helps keep the lights on and allows me to continue making content for all of you to watch. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.